Offices in Baton Rouge.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Hanny time. Hanny time. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Hannegraaff.
And we welcome you into Hanny Time 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegraaff, Mario Jerez, Taylor Sharp with you. Michael Cauble from WBRZ Channel 2 in about 15 minutes. Dwayne Colucci from Las Vegas at the bottom of the hour. We'll take your questions in the chat. I've got an orange shirt on today, an orange pullover. Taylor asked me if I was going on my Auburn interview today. So, if I were going on an Auburn interview today, what would I'd say three things in my Auburn interview if I was going on an Auburn interview today. Number one, I am definitely keeping Cadillac Williams on staff. Number two, I promised to build my house out of Yellowwood. Number three, what's my buyout? Maybe I should have moved that one up to the first one because ex-Auburn coaches live a very, very luxurious lifestyle. That's what I want to be. My next career, I want to be an ex-Auburn football coach. That's not why I wore orange today. It's laundry day and nothing else was clean. But I did appreciate what you said there. Did you watch the game last night? I was aggravated watching the game last night. And you're talking to somebody who was aggravated watching the game last night who had Washington plus 11, okay? So that should have put me in a good mood. Because Washington plus 11 was in the driver's seat for pretty much the whole, not after maybe the first drive, after the turnover, but pretty much the rest of the game. Washington plus 11 was the side to be on, even without the garbage touchdown at the end, which affected really nothing. But I was aggravated watching the game last night. Why? Any guesses from the gallery? Anybody?
Something to do with the officiating.
No. Good guess though, because the officiating they missed a number of them. The late hit at the end that put the game away was okay. Yeah, that's the right call, but it just felt dirty. Okay, good guess on the officiating. So no, not on the officiating. Taylor, you got a shot at this?
Something with the play calling.
No, another good guess. So the play calling was suspect. No, you might think that I was aggravated with the play calling or the officiating or the fact that Philadelphia lost the game because maybe I was, on the Eagles last night, which I wasn't. No. I was aggravated watching the game last night because of Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson had 6 tackles last night. He had 2 passes defensed. He had a quarterback hit, and he had an interception. The interception's interesting because it was his 6th of the year, which leads the NFL, and it's 3 times the number of interceptions that the entire Saints secondary has. Mario, remind me what the Saints got for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson?
A 6 and a 7.
Nothing. They got nothing, yes. Nothing is the correct answer there.
Well said.
Nothing. Zippo in the morning. They gave the NFL's interception leader away. And why? Because they weren't going to be able to pay him or his attitude stunk. Whichever of those descriptions that you prefer. Don't let anybody tell you that there's no such thing as cap hell. Don't let anybody tell you that contracts don't mean anything. There's no salary cap ramifications because it may not be evident the day of the deal, but trust me, at some point, all of it comes home to roost. It's like making a big. You ever make a big when you were younger and hopefully got out of this habit? Made a purchase on a credit card that was maybe a little bit more than you should have. And you're like, hey man, I don't have to pay for it today. But you didn't pay the balance off after a month, and the interest just the hits just keep on coming. Okay, so when you make good deals, you can stack good deals on top of good deals, and bad deals eventually will come back to get you. So I don't know if it was the Michael Thomas deal. I don't know if it was one of the other the Marcus May deal. I don't know if it was the Tyrann Mathieu deal. I don't know if it was the Alvin Kamara deal. I don't know if it was one of the quarterbacks, but somewhere along the line, the Saints paid so much money that they could not afford Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. The Eagles, who have way more good players than the Saints and a much better record than the Saints, found a way to afford him. Don't let anybody tell you that salary cap deals don't have ramifications, okay? Because they do. The other thing was, well, he's an attitude problem. Now, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, when I watched him play, was one of the most aggravating players in the league to watch because this cat just never stops. And he is under your skin. He is up in your face. He is the kind of guy that you love to have on your team and can't stand him when you play against him. Jose Alvarado's like that for the Pelicans. I love that guy. He played for anybody else in the NBA, I'd hate him because he don't quit. You want to talk about the little engine that could? Here's the guy that wasn't drafted, was playing Birmingham, and he is absolutely driving people crazy. That's Gardner-Johnson. And last night for the Eagles, he made a bunch of plays. I know the Eagles lost, but they're 8-1. That's just part of what aggravated me because if Chauncey Gardner-Johnson were on the Saints, would they be 8-1 and the Eagles wouldn't be? No, but he's an impact player that they should have kept. And they didn't. Oh, maybe it was his attitude. It wasn't the money. Okay. How are the Saints doing with those deals? We're just going to run this cat off because he's got a bad attitude. They've done that before. They ran off Junior Gillette, who was a pretty good pass rusher when he was with New Orleans. Turned out that he was a pretty bad guy off the field. They sent him to Washington. He got hurt and was really never heard from again. Okay. That one worked out. You ran off Jimmy Graham because he wanted to get paid. What happened? You haven't been as good at tight end since, and Jimmy Graham's career went to crap. Didn't work out. Brandon Cooks ran him off. Another productive guy. Don't like his attitude. Get him out of here. I may give him a little bit of a pass on that one because outside of Terrell Owens, I don't know anybody that's been productive at quite as many stops as Brandon Cooks. Everybody's like, man, what a really good player. Get him out of here, please. So maybe they deserve a little bit of a break on that one. Saints may change quarterbacks this week. Dennis Allen on that.
I'm not going to get into that right now. We just, came off the game. We'll have plenty of time to evaluate where we're at in a lot of areas.
Okay, that wasn't the clip I thought I was getting. I thought I was getting the clip where he says, no, we're considering a quarterback change. All right. The computer ate that clip. Just trust me. They're considering a quarterback change. Jameis Winston is sort of healthy. Sort of. Did a pretty candid interview with New Orleans football with Mike Triplett on Friday and said, listen, I shouldn't have played in the Tampa, paraphrasing, shouldn't have played in the Tampa game. I'm healthier now. I'm not probably going to be 100% the rest of the season. You make this change because I've been through all the Andy Dalton stuff, and I don't enjoy criticizing Andy Dalton because I think he's a good guy, and I think they're asking him to be a starting quarterback at a point in his career where he's no longer capable of being a high level starting quarterback. When he was with the Bengals, he was an adequate starting quarterback. Since he has left the Bengals, he's at that point in his career where he's a backup quarterback. He's a guy that you can stick in there for a couple of games and not hurt you, but he's not a starting quarterback. Is Jameis Winston? Probably not. I mean, I get the idea of put Jameis in for, the rest of the season. It's what I would do. I don't know that it's going to fix anything. I don't know if it's going to be a lot better. Jameis Winston's been in the league for 8 years now. I don't know that he's going to, discover something, but he's a better option than Dalton at this point. Moving forward, I don't know who the Saints quarterback's going to be, and that's a much more disturbing topic is, hey, what's next? Because if I told you that every deal you do has salary cap ramifications, then I'm telling you that every time you trade away draft capital, that has ramifications. Well, that's the player we wanted. Well, he better damn well hit because you're giving away more. And I'm generally in disagreement with trading up. If you're trading up, that guy better be great because you're missing out on multiple opportunities to add depth to your team and cheap depth to your team. Remember what I told you about the salary cap? Okay, all of this stuff matters. Well, if you're, they got the two players I wanted them to get in last year's draft, but the cost of it was a pick for next year that you didn't know what that was, and now that looks like that's going to be a pretty high pick. Where Dennis Allen, I do want you to play 6, Mario, because he talked about his message after the 7th loss of the season.
Well, look, I mean, when you get in situations like these, you have to fight your way out of it. There's no other way to get out of it other than fight your way out of it. And, this is where you got to lean on the leadership of the group, and they got to pull us through.
I'm not overly confident when I hear him speak. I'm just not. I'm sorry. He's a nice guy, and, I'm sure he's been a very good coordinator in this league for a while, but am I questioning, is this the guy? I mean, they're poorly coached right now. Doesn't mean they won't get better, but right now they're poorly coached. You look at penalties, you look at game plan, you look at, are you playing the right guys in some situation? Well, right now there's not a whole lot that, I think of as very positive. Have been asked a question. This question is out there, so it's not just it's been asked to me. It's been asked an awful lot, and it's starting to get asked a lot louder. Would the Saints be a one and done with Dennis Allen? And my answer to this is, a lot of people are saying, well, this is Gail Benson's call, and of course it is. It's her team, but from what I've observed of Gail Benson as an owner for both the Saints and the Pelicans since Tom Benson's death, is that she is what I would consider almost very, very close to the perfect owner. And why do I say that? Gail Benson has proven that she is willing to spend money to make the team better. There's been no problems with cash outlays, especially on the Pelican side, to sign guys to long-term contracts. Really hasn't with the Saints either. Whether it be a Michael Thomas or Ryan Ramczyk or Marshawn Lattimore or an Alvin Kamara, she stepped up and she has allocated the money. The fact that they can't afford Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is not Gail Benson's fault. It's Mickey Loomis's fault. But she has been more than willing to lay out cash to make her franchises better. The Pelicans in particular revamped the entire front office. In other words, they hired a front office, and they've outlaid any number of layers of that front office and the cash into contracts. She is willing to spend, but she's willing to spend without having her hands in every meeting. In other words, she's not a meddler. Perfect owner, one that has lots of money, hires professionals and lets them do their job and kind of stays out of the way. Stay in the owner's box on Sunday, celebrate after the game. That's what you want in an owner. The only thing that I, wish for Gail Benson is, hang on, because this is going to sound bad, okay? You have to consider the context in which I'm saying it. I wish Gail Benson were richer. I really do, because among NFL and NBA owners, she is not among the top tier as far as her financial portfolio. Listen, she's not going to starve, okay? She's going to make rent at the end of the month. But compared to, say, a Stan Kroenke or a David Tepper, she doesn't have that kind of capital. But what she has, she's willing to spend. But she doesn't meddle insofar as I demand, at least that I can see. I'm demanding that this move be made. I'm demanding that this coach be fired. I'm demanding that this coach be hired. I'm demanding anything. She hired David Griffin to run the Pelicans, and she hired Mickey Loomis to run the Saints, and she hired Dennis Laucha. Actually, all these guys were hired before. She hired Dennis Laucha to run the whole thing, okay? Laucha's the president. Loomis runs the Saints, and Griffin runs the Pelicans, and she pretty much stays out of their way. So Dennis Allen's fate, to me, is not tied to what Gail Benson wants. It's tied to what Dennis Laucha and Mickey Loomis want. Because if Dennis Laucha and Mickey Loomis go into Gail Benson's office at the end of the season and say, we got to make a move, she's going to make a move. I believe that. And if Dennis Laucha and Mickey Loomis go into her office at the end of the season and say, listen, none of this went the way we thought it would, none of this went the way we wanted it to, but we got the right guy, we're going to bring him back, I think Gail Benson will say, then let's bring him back. I don't think she marches down to anybody's office and demands that somebody be fired. I could be wrong. I'm not in those offices. That's just my read. So, to me, Dennis Allen's future, and I don't know if they are putting it on these next 7 games. I don't know if they made a decision for next year or not. But it lies with Laucha and it lies with Loomis. I think that Gail Benson will tell them, I hired you guys to run the franchise, do what it is you think within reason. Like I said, she doesn't have Stan Kroenke money. She can't build a new Superdome. She can't put up the South Louisiana version of SoFi, but she is willing to spend money, and she does want to win, and she doesn't meddle. close to the perfect owner. We'll take a break. Michael Cauble with us when we come back. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Continuing to buy my vehicles from Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge. You know, over the last several years, they've undergone so many improvements in the Acura and Infinity line. The new body style, starting with the 2021 TLX and TLX Type S, 2022 MDX, 2022 RDX, and the 2023 Integra. New body styles, new color combinations, advanced turbocharged massaging seats in the Type S Advance. Newest and latest styling and technology in the Acura and Infinity line. Family owned and operated. Listen, there's going to be transparency in pricing, and they're going to treat you like family. They've done it for me the last 3 vehicles that I have bought, and I'll be there for my next one at Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
Professional golfers John Peterson and JJ Colleen answer all your golf and life questions inside the new Drop Biscuit Studios podcast for the people. Download or subscribe today at dropbiscuit.com.
We get it done with strength, commitment, dedication, grit.
We get it done with passion for our fans
and love for our community. We are
the Tigers.
Get it done.
Let the values of the purple and gold be in your starting lineup this season. And as always, get it done.
I'm Jay Ducote. I grew up learning how to cook at LSU tailgate parties and right in my own backyard. And I created JD's Louisiana products to bring that Louisiana flavor to you at home for your backyard cookout. JD's Louisiana barbecue sauce, Louisiana molasses mustard, spicy and sweet barbecue rub, and more are available at your local supermarkets or by logging on to jducote.com/shop. Put in promo code CST for 25% off at checkout.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
ServiceMaster Elite create clean, disinfected work environments. As a local business, we take pride in serving the New Orleans and Baton Rouge areas. Our cleaning protocols follow CDC and OSHA standards for healthcare settings, offices, senior living, restaurants, and industrial plants. Contact ServiceMaster Elite to get your operation ready for reopening with germ disinfection cleaning. ServiceMaster Elite, the trusted choice in professional cleaning since 1996.
It's no secret, the best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Light beer shouldn't taste like water. Miller Lite has more taste and...
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR, presented by Insurance Network of Louisiana. Sean Salisbury joins us, and we'll chat with Peter Burns of the SEC Network. Tuesday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Pelicans with an interesting game tonight against the Grizzlies. Got more on that on the podcast. Hannycast, 1045ESPN.com. Pelicans will quite possibly, probably even be without Zion Williamson tonight, but John Morant is coming back, and so is Jaren Jackson Jr. So it'll be an interesting game for New Orleans. Kind of a see where you are game, if you will. Let's bring in Michael Cauble from WBRZ Channel 2. Michael, good afternoon. How are you? Well, he's there somewhere, I know.
Yeah, says he's there.
Yeah,
Call him back, I guess.
Oh, okay. Well, he was there. I was going to ask Michael about the current state of LSU. The rankings come out tonight. We'll see the CFB rankings. We'll do Vegas's reaction to that, but it was a shakeup weekend with the Pac-12 pretty much bowing out 1 week after the ACC had bowed out, and that leaves TCU with control of their own destiny going into this thing, and a big win against Texas. And all of a sudden, does that game at Baylor this week for TCU look all that formidable? Baylor has was really, really rough last weekend. Didn't like that at all. Tennessee and USC, we saw both of those coaches with obvious style point late touchdowns that they were adding. Not that I knew that either one of them was going to matter. I thought the Tennessee touchdown late in particular was a little bit bush league there. Cobble's phone blew up. Is that what happened here?
Apparently, he was good. Talked to him and everything. Now it's going straight to voicemail.
Hey, how you doing? And then just the whole thing goes kaplooey there. Okay. Well, we got him back now, and let's try to restart this thing. Michael, how are you?
I'm good. I am like 2 miles down Government Street from you, so of course I have no cell service.
You could have stopped. I mean,
right. I could probably walk there by the time it would take to finish this.
We cater these things sometime. I mean, we make it worth your while. So give me.
What it was, Charlie?
What's that?
You were talking Pelicans, and it immediately scared me to death because I don't follow the Pelicans. So
I did a Pelicans promo. That's all I did. It was a promo for the podcast. I wasn't going to ask you any Pelicans questions at all.
All right, good.
I promise. So your thoughts on what LSU, the state of the program going into this weekend. It's a non-conference games. I hate these spots in the schedule, but as it turns out, Jaden Daniels could probably use a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of a step back to what he was prior to last week, because last week was pretty tough for him.
Well, apparently, but basically, you were asking me about where LSU is right now and the performance on the offense.
What to accomplish this week? I could ask it better. I guess. Is Jaden Daniels going to go back to the Jaden Daniels we saw for the month before the Arkansas game, and was last week just an aberration?
No, I think they ran into a good defense, right? I mean, how many times have we talked about Barry Odom maybe not being a great head coach, but being a fantastic defensive coordinator? I think he defended LSU much in the same way that LSU's defense has had success defending other quarterbacks like Jaden Daniels, run pass threats. And, I mean, you saw it. They rushed 3. They didn't really try to get home to the quarterback. They just tried to contain him. And then they really relied on their man coverage and, dropping 8 sometimes to be able to confuse him and hold him up long enough for that pass rush to get home. And it was solid. It's exactly, what LSU would have done in the similar situation. So I think it was a little bit of a combination of factors that kind of led to one of LSU's worst offensive showings, but they still found a way to get it done. And I think that kind of speaks, yes, to both Jaden, but also to the Tiger football team as a whole, right? I mean, like, you're finding ways to get it done. That interception, when I went back and looked at it, I actually think he was trying to jerk the ball down and not throw it, which is why he threw it right to the defender. So even maybe a little bit more of a pass on that one, which I wouldn't have given him on first glance.
All right, you've seen plenty of football here. We've all been around this program for a long time. You got a comp on Harold Perkins, a story on Harold Perkins, an anecdote on Harold Perkins? Because I'm running out of words.
No, I mean, the kid's phenomenal, right? But I will say this, and this is something that I've said for a couple of weeks now. I think you also have to, as much as you have to credit Harold, you have to credit those around him for getting him in the space to be able to do what he is doing. I mean, phenomenal speed, phenomenal strength from Perkins. But let's give that front some credit. Wingo, Jaquelin Roy, Brian Kelly said played one of his best games. Let's give BJ some credit. Let's give the corners some credit for holding up in coverage, allowing him, to get to the quarterback and make those plays. It is phenomenal what he is doing, but there is also a reason why he is allowed to do what he is able to do. So I think there's a lot of shared credit there. And it's great that Perkins is getting a lot of the notoriety. Eventually they'll figure out ways, to combat that to some degree. And Brian Kelly talked about that this week of maybe now the offense putting a spy on Perkins. He's so multiple, though. I'm anxious to see, if opposing teams have any success doing that.
Michael, because of the way the schedule usually falls and because of the fact that Alabama never has 2 losses at this point in the season, this is the earliest LSU's ever clinched an SEC championship berth. It leaves them in this kind of uncharted territory. You got 2 games. Yeah, they matter because you got a shot to get in the playoffs, but you're already clinched for the championship game. You got 2 teams coming in that you're going to be significant favorites over. UAB's not terrible, but they're not great. And A&M is playing out the string. Are you going to see an inspired effort or not? So what do you expect from LSU, knowing that they've got the West in their back pocket, but there's bigger things on the horizon for them? What kind of expecting out of the last 2 weeks?
I'm expecting that same focus that we've seen for the first 10 weeks. This Tiger team didn't get to where they are this year by relaxing or by cutting corners. And that's something that Brian Kelly has talked about, right? Since Florida State, the fight, right? But also the willingness to do the things that they need to do to take care of business off the field, to be prepared for the on-the-field stuff. And Kelly's been pretty self-deprecating as well, saying that they need to coach it better. So I think you'll see a renewed focus, not to the same level that you saw post-Tennessee, but I do think this team understands that they laid an egg this past weekend and that won't be sufficient going forward. So, I mean, they got a lot of help. Arkansas was playing their third-string quarterback and having some success with him. Who knows what would have happened if they would have started Fortin to start with. But that's not the case. So I think this might be a little bit of a wake-up call for LSU, and the way that they've conducted themselves, the maturity with which they've played and practiced, I think says a lot of good things about the final 2 weeks of this regular season.
If you were Brian Kelly, what is your biggest concern between now and the SEC championship game?
Oh, that's a good question, Charlie. My biggest concern would probably be finding some help in the running back room, other than Josh Williams. I mean, I think that they're going to have to find something because it doesn't feel like they have a real good complement of players outside of him. I mean, Emory seems to be just taking steps backwards, whether that be injury related or focus, I don't know. But I don't know that there's enough there. I feel pretty confident maybe in what else they have going on. Dellinger, talk about mixing him in. I don't know that that's the smartest thing if they have the continuity that they're playing with him along the offensive front. Just probably health. I mean, it sounds terrible, but it probably is just health. Making sure guys stay out of trouble and stay healthy.
They've done a pretty good job of that so far this year.
I mean, That's the other thing that we haven't talked about. They've been relatively healthy. They took the one big blow right out of the gate, but then since then, they've been pretty good on that front.
Some of that's luck, and some of that is how how they have prepared. He talked about that yesterday. The daily habits and the way that this team is going about taking care of their business. Like I said, some of that is luck where you just don't step wrong or get rolled up, but some of that stuff is how you prepared. So credit goes to them. Go ahead.
SEC media days. Kelly and the media that were there kind of gathered off to the side. And he talked about it then, and I kind of scoffed at it at the time, but he talked about, the preparation and the physical preparation that is required to play into November, and like, I'm thinking, come on, bro, like, we're looking at 8 wins here. Let's be realistic. Let's just, kind of play the game in front of us. But he saw something, right? He saw something, whether it be in what he inherited and where they were needing to go and, everything that they needed to get there with. But he talked about being prepared to play games in November. And, man, if they're not doing that and doing it at a high level, I think it's impressive that a lot of things that, he acknowledged and saw right away are coming to fruition.
You going to put Shea and Moscone on television tonight?
We are. In fact, we have already got it in the book. So if you want to hear Matt Moscona even more or Shea Dixon talking about recruiting, be sure to tune in to Sports Takeover tonight at 6:30 on WBRZ Plus, Cox Cable Channel 11, and then, of course, on the WBRZ YouTube page afterward.
All right, Mike, we appreciate it. We're singing to the same phone store we sent Rabelais to last week. So
right?
we'll be better next time.
The middle of Baton Rouge, it's terrible service. I'm literally standing in between a brick alley right now just so I can have this conversation. Because if I take 10 steps in another direction, it drops.
All right. Well, you may go now. Thank you, Michael Cauble, WBRZ Channel 2. Dwayne Colucci from Vegas. When we return, is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
Thanksgiving creeping up on us. You want to make your dishes with Supreme Rice. I'd highly encourage that. Love the rice dressing at Thanksgiving, but there's so many different things you can do with Supreme Rice. So you got a big family gathering. You're going to stretch your food dollar with Supreme Rice, and you're going to be supporting our Louisiana farmers because all of our Supreme Rice grown, milled, and processed down in Crowley, Louisiana, and Southwest Louisiana since the 1930s. Pick it up at all of your AG food stores, all of your Rouses, your Costco's, your Walmarts, including your Walmart neighborhood stores. And of course, you're going to be able to get some great recipes at the website. So this Thanksgiving, celebrate with Supreme Rice. For more information and great recipes, go to supremerice.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Miller Lite has more taste and only one more calorie than Michelob Ultra.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 60 months on new 2022 Ford F-150s. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million-mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Eli's always been into grilling. It took us a while to see it, but the signs were there.
What are you doing, Eli?
I knew grilling was my thing. I have been talking about it throughout my career.
Happy with the results?
I am. Got the new grill from barbecueguys.com. It performed great.
My advice, as I always told my boys,
do more of what you were born to do.
Barbecue Guys, for those who were born to grill.
You want cheese on your burger, Pops?
I'll take a little cheese.
Crime has serious consequences, but anyone can make a mistake. If you find yourself in trouble with the law, know that you have rights, and it's okay to demand them. The law offices of O.C. Brown are here to protect you and your rights. Felony or misdemeanor, DUI or drug charge. No matter what crime you're accused of, you still have rights. Let the law offices of O.C. Brown uphold them. Call 225-343-1111. Your law firm for a lifetime.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
This summer, meet Acura's heroes of performance. Only available at the Acura Summer of Performance.
This summer, visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the MDX.
Want more customers? Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers. Visit us online.
Me, Jimmy out and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday edition of Game Time presented by Bet Rivers. We're at Dozy Place on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. Game Time presented by Bet Rivers, 6 to 8 p.m. on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Going now to Las Vegas, our buddy Dwayne Colucci at the South Point in the Rampart. Colucci, how you doing this morning?
What's going on, Hanny? How you been, buddy?
Well, I say it's this morning because it's this morning where you are. We are into the afternoon. All right, I always ask you for a reaction in the sports book with some of the big swing plays of the weekend. Nothing could have been crazier than the end of Minnesota and Buffalo. So tell me where the action was on what has been the NFL, as far as I'm concerned, the game of the year so far.
Yeah, I tell you, it was a pretty good game. You know, a lot of excitement, and definitely there was a roar in the Rampart Racing Sportsbook. I will tell you that, Charlie. That was a great game. I mean, now you have all the second guessers. Should Allen have been out there? Did the elbow come into play on the snap? I mean, it's one play. They played fabulous. You know, they got pinned down. It's unfortunate they fumbled, and Minnesota picked up the victory. So I think still Buffalo is one of the top teams in the AFC. We're definitely going to keep an eye on Josh Allen's elbow, but there was a definite roar in the crowd, and we had good two-way action on that game, I'll be honest. You know, a lot of people were still taking the Vikings, believe it or not, and now they're sitting at 8-1 in the NFC, right now tied with the Eagles because the Eagles faltered last night. So there was a lot of excitement this weekend, especially on Sunday for the NFL action. Then you combine that with the great late matchups where, you know, not the Raiders being so great, but they're such a popular attraction in Las Vegas. And you had the Green Bay-Dallas game as well as the supposed shootout, let me say, Arizona and the Rams, where both the quarterbacks ended up sitting. Cooper Kupp got hurt. Now he's on IR. So it was a great weekend, Charlie, I'll tell you. But the public did very well on some of these matchups in the NFL especially.
Let me ask you about the Raiders, since you're right there in that situation. I didn't think Derek Carr was trying to be cryptic. He was emotional, but he did everything but call his teammates quitters. And watching the Raiders, I understand his frustration. What's been the reaction out in Vegas to what Carr said after the game?
Well, now everybody's questioning the leadership, and definitely it falls on the head coaching position and why they didn't retain Bisaccia, who did such a good job when he was relieved or had to relieve John Gruden. So it's a weird situation out here, Charlie. Derek Carr looked like he was fighting back tears. Devontae Adams still had 9 receptions, 126 yards, a touchdown. You know, they're missing Darren Waller. They're not playing good defense. Their defensive scheme is horrible. And Josh Jacobs has had a fabulous season as well on the offensive side of the ball. So when Matt Ryan is able to matriculate the ball down the field, as Stram used to say, and you're putting up 25 points against this Raider defense and you're not synonymous with scoring, it's a very difficult situation. And now the press is starting to get anxious. We're all starting to get anxious. But the public, Charlie, believe it or not, continues to back this team week in and week out. We did pretty well on that game again. And I guess it was because of the Jeff Saturday situation. I think the public and all the press focused on how that was such a poor decision, not realizing that the Raiders are playing horrible, and it was a good position for this man to get his first victory, which he did. And, going from the booth and high school coaching to the NFL, now the Raiders are definitely second-guessing themselves losing to a guy like this.
All right, let's talk about the colleges for a second. It is not a great card this week. A lot of non-conference games in the SEC. But I want to ask you about where your odds makers, you run the book out there, where you got LSU, because what we've been doing every week is we've been simulating what the Vegas poll would be as opposed to what the college football playoff poll would be. So if you were ranking teams, where would LSU end up? Just from a point spread value situation, where would LSU rank in your head right now?
Well, they're pretty far up there. I mean, but they couldn't score last weekend, and that was disappointing, Charlie. I was one of the LSU backers, and they really didn't impress me. And now you're starting to see, is Alabama as good as they really were advertised? I mean, this has got to be one of Nick Saban's poorest efforts, and his team is not motivated. So, LSU, I believe they're ranked 7 now. So I would definitely put them in the playoff picture, but they have to prove themselves. And this is a big weekend. I mean, they're playing a mediocre team at best, and they have to lay a beating on this team and put some flashpoints against UAB. But now what we're seeing at the Rampart and South Point is a little two-way action and some buyback actually on UAB, because we opened the game at 14.5. Charlie, at the Rampart and South Point. We're sitting at 14.5, but I'm seeing an even ticket count thus far. So that's definitely where the public is second-guessing this team as well. But the teams in front of them, I mean, TCU and Baylor, that's going to be a telling tale and a measuring stick as well. We're going to see at 9 a.m. in Las Vegas how big that game turns out. And, TCU has to continue to win because they look like they're waiting to lose. And that also factors into LSU's power rankings, with the other teams like Tennessee. Georgia, naturally, I feel is by hands, and above the best team in the nation. And I think they're going to prove that in the playoffs. I think a lot of these head coaches made mistakes this year, and a lot of the big teams slipped up when they didn't need to, Charlie. So LSU is definitely right up there, and they're on the cusp of making the playoffs, but you have to continue to win, and now you also have to blow teams out, in my opinion.
I want to ask you about the TCU game because there's just not a lot of faith in the Horned Frogs, and I've been guilty of this myself. I've gone against them a couple of times and gotten stung. They are 10-0 and going to play a Baylor team that just got beat by 4 touchdowns, and yet they are less than a field goal favorite right now. You can tell me where you guys got it right now, but I'm seeing some 2.5s with TCU and Baylor. And I think they control their own destiny, Kaluch, but there just doesn't seem to be a whole lot of faith in TCU.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean, I really think they're a proven team now because they continue to win, but they're only a 3-point favorite at the Rampart and South Point. And I'm seeing other shops even have 2.5 on this game. So we're going to take a ton of action. This is going to be one of the premier games where we're, getting exceptional handle. I mean, this TCU Horned Frog team is 12th in the nation in offense overall. The defense is 66. Naturally, you could score some points against this team, but I think they could definitely win this game, even though they're going on the road. And it's going to be very important to keep that, the momentum going as you head into this playoff. And Dugan is a big factor on that. I definitely think he is the man. You have DeAndre Miller as well. He's a good running back. They definitely could score in bunches, but they're not getting respect. Like you said, Charlie, it's like they're hovering, waiting to lose, like I said earlier in this segment, and the public has that perception as well. Like I said, some other shops have the game down to 2.5. We're at 3 at the Rampart and South Point. I anticipate taking some favorite money. I mean, if it dips below 2.5, you're going to have the sharp action buyback anyway, Charlie. So might as well sit at 3 and see if we start to get a lot of favorite action, which I think closer to game time you will in this matchup. I mean, 10-0. Flashy offense against the Baylor team who got blown out, like you said, in the previous game. That's so important.
I want to ask you about one NFL game before we get to your hockey picks. I imagine that this will be the highest volume game on your board this week, outside of the Raiders, the hometown team. Cowboys and Vikings, both of them coming off emotional overtime games. Both of these teams, playoff teams. You got a very, very public team with the Dallas Cowboys. This is a late window. There's only a couple of games in the late window, so there's going to be a lot of eyes on this game. Where you got the line right now, and what do you think the handle will look like, Cowboys-Vikings?
Well, this is going to be a marquee matchup without a doubt. And, Minnesota basically got, gifted a win. We're sitting at Pick'em at the Rampart and South Point, which we should. I mean, the game at other shops around town opened Dallas as a favorite, Charlie. And rightfully so. I mean, everybody saw it. Dallas collapsed. Okay, they got outscored, 17-0 in the second half, or the fourth quarter and overtime, I should say, down the stretch. But there were so many mistakes. Not that I'm a Cowboy homer, but the calls were horrible, Charlie. There were pass interferences. It was like the refs were supporting the Green Bay momentum and that crowd. And then you just have McCarthy with a bad call. You got to try and put the points on the board to take the lead. And once again, he became a factor, which he's been pretty much a positive this year. But when he makes these bad calls, it becomes a negative. So I think Dallas just, they crapped it out. It's unfortunate. They could have made a game up against the Eagles, and it was such an important game. Now you're traveling, though, back-to-back games on the road. And I remember when they played the Rams and the Eagles back-to-back on the road. They got one victory, but the second game, the effort wasn't there as important as the game was against the Eagles. Now they're faced with their backs up against the wall. Like I said, good two-way action. Pick them 47.5. But Dak has really got to come to play. I hope Zeke suits up because you see how important it is to have the two-prong running attack. Pollard can't just do it by himself. He's a small guy. Zeke is very important to that offense. We're going to see if they could lure Beckham. I'm not sure how that's working out. There's a lot of recruiting going on for this guy, and he would definitely add to the offense. You saw CD was just monstrous this weekend, but the secondary had a lot of holes, and they got to get that defense sound again. They gave up their most points last week of the season. You got to rectify that. You saw Diggs make a statement on social media. That was unacceptable, that game. I think they could definitely put the pressure on Kirk Cousins, make him make mistakes. But on the other hand, Minnesota is really scrappy. They have one of the best wide receivers in the game, a great running back, and Cousins is definitely playing better than he has in the past. So, great matchup. What a handle matchup, Charlie. I love this game, to be honest with you. And, I'll be rooting for my Cowboys unless we get massive amounts of Minnesota action.
All right, before we let you go, you're off to a really good start in the NHL, so you got anything you like tonight?
Yeah, we slipped up last week here on Tuesday. We did great, on Jimmy's show, but you missed out on it. I hope you listened. Tonight is definitely a great card. I think, once again, they're overvaluing the New Jersey Devils. How many games could they win on the road, Charlie? It's amazing how they're playing thus far. And now they're going into the, Montreal, the Bell Center, and they're laying a huge number of 185. I got to take my Canadians on a plus there. They've been very kind to us this year, taking them as pluses. Remember, if I do go 1-2, but you have that plus 180 and you're making straight bets, that basically rectifies it. You'll get about 165, 170 tonight, Charlie. So I like Montreal. I think they're a scrappy team. They're playing very well. You could see that line of Suzuki, Caulfield, and Doc, such young blood. They're flourishing, and Montembeault and Allen are playing fabulous in goal, but the Devils have been awesome. So be careful. I like Montreal, though, on the straight side, without a doubt. The rematch, we took the Flyers the other night against Columbus. Columbus ended a 7-game losing streak against the Flyers, and I think Tortorella will definitely have his team more motivated going back to Columbus. There was some bad blood when he left there. I like the Flyers' chances. They're a 115 favorite on the road at the Rampart in South Point, and I'm going to the game tonight, so we're going to see if the Vegas Golden Knights could bounce back. We did have the Blues the other night. I didn't want to tweet it out and, give all this publicity, but it was a stronger play that I made this season so far, Charlie, because I always feel when a team goes on the road and dominates the way the Golden Knights did, when you come back home, you're a little complacent in that first game back, and it definitely showed. They have to get back motivated. I mean, I think they could easily beat this team tonight. 285, though, at the Rampart in South Point. We're going to see how it plays out. If you got to bet the Vegas Golden Knights, you got to bet them on the puck line. T-Mobile's going to be off the hook. Everybody was waiting for them to come back. 12-3, Golden Knights leading the NHL. I mean, it's a great vibe out here to rectify what the Raiders are doing, Charlie.
Sure.
So, Golden Knights, puck line, Canadians, and Flyers.
All right, Kaluch, you the best, man. We'll talk to you on Thursday night. I was listening. I will be there this Thursday for sure.
You're the best, Charlie.
Thanks
Definitely.
a lot.
Let's make some money.
Absolutely. Dwayne Colucci from the South Point and the Rampart. We'll take a break, come back, take your questions. This is Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
And our friends out at Big Mike's with another weekend with live music starting on Thursday with Chris Allen Friday, the Chris LeBlanc Band, and Saturday for the LSU game. DJ Clarence keeping the atmosphere going. It's the late start, LSU at 8 o'clock against UAB on Saturday night. Of course, the high school playoffs. We know that Denham Springs is headed to North Louisiana for a road game. But if you're watching games around the area, you want to get in for a late meal on Friday night. Big Mike's is open late and family-friendly to get in after the high school football games. We're in the second round of the playoffs. Sunday for the Saints and the Rams, it's happy hour drink prices all day. That'll help ease what has been a painful Saints season so far, but the happy hour drink prices will help every Sunday for the NFL at Big Mike's. Daily lunch specials on Aspen and Denham Springs. Big Mike's, we're kind of a big deal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $11,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% for 72 months on all new 2022 Ram Black Widow trucks in stock. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty and free delivery. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
This is a house call. This is a follow-up appointment. This is a diabetes checkup. This isn't just more convenient care, it's more advanced care. This is innovating healthcare at Louisiana's #1 hospital, Ochsner.
There's nothing better than tailgating, but it can be a lot of work. So why do it yourself?
On Wednesdays off the bench, react to the new college football playoff ranking and what it means for the Tigers. Plus, what do you want to see out of them against UAB Saturday night? Matt Flynn stops by for an hour of flestering off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hanny Time with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Told you that there is an interesting Pelicans game tonight. Mario's been like, you seem almost nervous over there. It's a November game now, man. You got to calm down a little bit. But this is one of those, let's see where you are games with a division team. You're going to see them 4 times this year. And, of course, anytime it's Zion and Ja, those two guys are going to be linked for their entire careers as long as they're with these teams. But Zion may not play tonight. Pretty good chance he's not going to play tonight, actually.
Yeah.
So, but how do you feel? How do you feel?
I feel like it's really early in the season, like you said, tough to get a gauge on these kind of things. But the last time the Pels were in a similar situation, they had no Zion, no BI, and no Luka, and they beat the Mavericks with the healthy Luka Doncic. So if there's no Zion, hopefully we can see a replication of that.
Tell you what I'd like to see is C.J. McCollum shoot the ball better. He's in he's just in a slump. I mean, he's not. This guy's a vet. He's a terrific shooter. Ordinarily, you know what surprised me is anybody can go through a shooting slump from the floor. Maybe it's just a string of elite defenders. Maybe you're just off your game, whatever. What's really surprised me is how poorly he's shooting from the free throw line, because nobody's guarding you there. And we're talking about a guy who, has been a very good free throw shooter throughout his career, shooting 57% over the last 4 games. They say he's been sick, not feeling well. So hopefully he is feeling better over whatever that is, and gets has a good game tonight. Pels are still 3.5-point favorite tonight, and like I said, Moran is going to play. Jaren Jackson Jr. is supposed to play, and Zion is, well, at this point, a question mark. Tomorrow, BK press conference on the teleconference. We'll hear from him. Tomorrow also we'll have the latest college football playoff standings. We'll see how that shook up with the past week. Scott Rabley will join us tomorrow. We'll do first class, second class, and no class. For Taylor Sharp, for Mario Jerez, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. This has been Hanny Time, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hanny Time.
All you business owners that are having problems with staffing, and I know that there's a lot of you out there, let me introduce you to Tiger Labor and Staffing. All of the things that are incredibly time-consuming and frustrating to you, all of the interviews, including the interviews that are no-shows, the background checks, the payroll expenses, the screening, the training. Tiger Labor and Staffing can take care of all of these things for you so you can get back to work. Tiger Labor and Staffing handles all of the onboarding as well, another very time-consuming process. So whether you need somebody for a day, you need them for a week, you need them for a month, you can help control your labor expenses and increase your flexibility. And if you need seasonal employees here during the holidays, they can help you with that as well. The temp-to-hire option is only 60 days. That's the lowest in the industry. And if you're looking for work, Tiger Labor and Staffing welcomes skilled and unskilled labor. They'll match you with a job that fits you, and it's quick turnarounds on pay. Tiger Labor and Staffing, success begins with the eye of the tiger, so go to tigerlabor.com.